Welcome to week 1. This is the project that we're going to be working on. This I called my stitch book, but you can call it whatever you want. It's a little embroidery and sewing sampler book that I made using old jeans and shirts. It's got a little pocket here, and inside the pocket is the seam ripper I'm going to show you how to use, and some thread and some patchwork. If I turn the page, you'll see I've also got some needles already threaded stored in here. This is a bigger needle with a bigger eye. This is an embroidery needle. The eye is the hole that we put the embroidery thread through. This is a bit smaller needle. This is a sewing needle. It has some embroidery thread in it too, but it has a smaller eye. And this is the thread and the needle we'll be using most to sew this entire book. So what you need to make this book and to take this class is either a shirt. So you'll see this shirt has some plaid in it. That's because it came from my daughter and it has 2 kinds of plaid. And when I look at the tag, it says 100% cotton. So either find a shirt that's old. This one had holes in it. So I don't know if you can see the holes here, but it wasn't being worn by my daughter anymore because of the holes. So I took it and I cut it up. I don't know if you can see this very well, but I cut it up. And that's how I got the squares for the book. I used this shirt. And I also used these jeans, and there's not very much of these jeans left. These are some old jeans of mine. I've torn the zipper out. I might actually reuse this zipper too. And I used my seam ripper. So here's an example of what we can do. These are also cotton. We can check the tag. I think there's a tag somewhere that says whether this is cotton or not, but these are cotton jeans. Cotton is really good for our activity because it's a good, strong fabric with a good weave. And then this is how I use the seam ripper. It has a ball to protect my fingers from getting stabbed, but this end is sharp. And there's also a little tiny blade in the little U-shaped area, like the armpit or the little valley in the middle, and that's the same as a pair of scissors. It's actually sharp in here, so it can cut the thread. So if I stick it under a seam in the jeans, I use my thumb on the ball if I need to control where it goes, because I don't want to stab myself with that blade. But then when I push further through, it cuts the thread. So I can do that a couple of times to cut the thread that's holding this belt loop on these jeans. And in class, we're going to start cutting threads of an old pair of jeans or an old shirt. If you don't have one, that's okay. We'll have some for you too. But I think it's nice to use old clothes that once belonged to you, or maybe someone you love, like my daughter or a husband, wife, partner, child, grandparent. I've been starting to make more quilts using old clothes, and I really like to use them, and I really like to cut them up. So the first step is to use the seam ripper to open up these seams and cut these threads. So if you want to come take the class and cut up some old jeans with us, we can practice communicating and speaking while we're working on making this book. And the first step will be cutting and ripping. And when we're finished seam ripping, so there we go, I've got it all taken apart, and now I have a piece of fabric instead of a pair of jeans. As I'm taking them apart, I get fabric that I can cut into the squares that I want for my book. All right, so I'm going to show you that book one more time. Here it is. We're going to sew a book entirely by hand using a seam ripper, scissors, and embroidery, and sewing needles and thread. That's everything you need. I will provide the thread, the seam ripper, and the scissors and the needles for you. You just need to bring a shirt or a pair of jeans if you want to make it out of your own materials. All right, see you soon.